Hello, and welcome to Center Theater Group's Working in Theater virtual modules. My name is Christine.
And I'm LJ.
And though the theaters have gone dark, CTG has strived to continue to offer meaningful virtual conversations about making a life in the arts. These conversations have not only been extremely valuable, but accessible to people all over the country.
As we look ahead to reopening, we wanted to make sure that these wonderful conversations live on and continue to be a helpful resource for emerging theater artists, arts administrators, and theater educators.
There is so much amazing information in these videos, and we are here to help guide you through them.
Well, thanks for tuning in. Hello, and welcome to the personal finance section of our financial literacy module. In this section, we'll be looking at ways independent artists can set themselves up for financial stability and success.
That's right, LJ. Viewers, please note that this conversation is designed with independent artists in mind. So if you're here for information for organizational finances, or if you're here specifically because it's tax time and you need information about taxes, we have separate sections that will directly address those topics elsewhere in this module.
All right, so managing money in a profession where you can't always plan on when your next paycheck is coming in is very, very scary. So our first clip, LA theater artist Ashley Steed is going to give us some great resources for managing income and tracking expenses.
Is budgeting. Learning personal finances is probably one of the most important things you can do. So start getting into the practice of tracking your finances. Track your income and expenses. Because if you're going to become an artist, you might not get paid until 2 months after a project is over. So you really need to learn how to manage your finances and anticipate income. So one thing that I use for my personal finances is mint.com. It's a great way for me to track my spending and my income, and I can also look at income that I have from specific jobs. And you can also set goals on there, which is really important because it's also important to start saving money as well. In addition to that, learning basic taxes is really important because you're going to be having a variety of income. So I have a combination of W-2s, W-9s, and 1099s. And if you're getting paid as an independent contractor with a 1099, you're probably not paying taxes on that income, which means you need to save money so that when you do your taxes, you don't start crying because now you owe the government a lot of money. And I had to learn that the hard way. So the first year I did that, I learned quickly that I need to save money every month so that when I do my taxes, I have the money there.
Well, Ashley brought up one of my least favorite topics, which is taxes. Christine, how do you feel about taxes?
Oh, man. I've definitely also cried during tax time because I worked on so many 1099s and I didn't save enough money. You'll get a big chunk of money right away and it's really exciting. You'll be like, wow, there's $5,000 in my bank account. It's not just all your money though. And you really do need to take that into account, no pun intended, when you do get paid on those larger projects.
Yes, and also, especially if you're based here in California with an AB5, a lot of places are hiring you as part-time, but maybe you're still 1099 like me. So during tax season, I end up with both 1099 and also a pile of W-2s.
Yep.
So if you're like us and you find tax time intimidating and the IRS a little scary, no worries, we've got you covered. There's an entire section in this module that is just on taxes. And not only will you see videos from some of our digital conversations, but we also sit down with a tax expert and actor, Richard
Azurdia, who we love very much. Hi, Richard. That's right.
For us.
And LJ, do you use any? I know Ashley mentioned mint.com. How do you track what money is coming in and what money is coming out?
So my personal finances are a hot mess express. I'm very terrible at tracking my personal finances because I do a lot of 1099 work. Right now, I'm at like receipts in a shoebox level of finance tracking. But with Maroon Arts and Culture, my arts organization, I just cannot afford to be sloppy with it. So I actually use QuickBooks for the organization. But yeah, my personal finances, it's a mess. And I'm watching these videos like, get it together, Jenkins.
I mean, I don't have anything fancy that I do either. I'm going to check out Mint. I have like a really basic spreadsheet, and I mean really basic. And it's not for W-2 work, for work that's kind of, I know that's coming in and out. I don't find that I need help with that. It's when I do get paid on those larger projects, it's really easy for me to see $6,000 come in and think, oh, I'm going to get a new oven or whatever. I mean, maybe something more exciting than an oven. But it's really good for me to be like, okay, so how do I make sure that this lasts for the next 4 months? And, you know, how can I sort of look at how much I'm paying for, you know, rent or mortgage, look at how much I'm paying for my bills. And even if it's just an estimate or guesstimate, that can be really helpful. And it's like, okay, I'm going to leave that $6,000 in my savings account. I'm going to take out $1,200 a month for specifically my rent. And that's what I'm going to do. That's really helpful for me. So I use a really simple spreadsheet, but it helps when you get those big chunks of money, and it helps me not get too excited about them. All right. In this next video, we are going to drop in on a lively conversation between guest artists Emmanuel Wilson, Jillian Armanente, Oscar Camacho, and Melissa Berger-Brennan about why managing money is so important. And they drop even more things artists can do to stay financially organized.
And they also talk about when it's time to incorporate and what that means, as well as things to think about when getting a survival job, which we all need to survive.
Common question we get: you want to have a great agent, you want to have a good manager, but you also want to have a good accountant, right? Because and that I think you should have regardless of what industry you're in, right? Whether you're an actor, a writer, director, you know, you've got money coming in from all these different sources. You may be being paid differently. You know, you may be an employee here, you may be a 1099 over here. So you really have to, at the end of the day, you know, you got to say, well, where's my money coming from? Who am I paying? Where is it going? How do I earn it? Because your money sources change from year to year, right? So people always forget someone to look over their finances. And in every single one of those, whether it's a manager, an agent, or an accountant, those aren't jobs that you sort of say, well, I don't want to deal with it, so you deal with it. You're building relationships with people so that you actually know what's going on. You're completely invested in your career, your business. So if you've got someone looking over your money, you're the one signing the checks, you're the one checking over everything. So these are little things that as you start to build, you sort of forget. There's a lot of actors out there who are making content for YouTube, and you got to learn how to monetize that. And then how do you claim that? And then, so there's all of these different things. So really having a good financial education and having someone that you can trust is, I think, so important there. So agent, manager, accountant, and also a great support system too, so writers, directors, producers, designers, custom people, stage hands, stage managers. You really want to build the biggest network for yourself as possible, no matter who they are, because you'll work with them at some point and they'll be there to support you. So it's a long answer, so sorry.
That's a good answer. It's a great
it's just like, I love this. I love these conversations. So, but yes, money. Even if you're like, I'm an actor and I'm not a writer, I'm not a director, you still need to understand, what your year's going to look like in terms of your finances and how you pay your taxes and what your exemptions are and all the, what you can deduct. That's a really big thing that you can get in trouble if you don't, start thinking about it. And it's really good to start thinking about it now. A lot of you are going to college and you're dealing with that, right? You're dealing with all of that. So it's the same thing. It's just understanding it in a different detail. So start thinking about that now. Don't wait until you reach some sort of level, which really doesn't matter. You pay taxes no matter what level you're at. So
can I throw an addendum onto that? If you're an artist, I like to think of it as, you need to be prepared. You need to know the difference between, an S corp and an individual, a sole proprietorship. You need to know, are you paying, taxes in India on that job and in the United States? Are you, all that stuff. But just in a metaphor kind of way, I always think of actors or me or anybody who's sort of self-employed to think of it as being a fisherman. Because you could be stuffed to the gills with work and the fish are jumping in the boat, and half of them you can't eat, they rot, and then you could be starving for years. So you need to be able to figure out how to have amazing years where you're getting paid more than your entire family combined, and years where you're living below the poverty line, and being able to there's an economic disaster, you can handle it. There's a Screen Actors Guild strike, you can handle it. But you're still able to live humbly and parse out and prepare for the future as well. So that's another thing to think about as an artist, is to strategize. Okay, what if I get struck by lightning? What if there's a global pandemic? How do I survive and live humbly now, even though I'm ranking in the bucks? Or how do I live when I'm not making any money right now? And that, I just wanted to throw that out there as well. You're a fisherman, so sometimes you fish and
So perfect.
Does everyone have an accountant here?
I have a lady who does my taxes, but I do my own everything else. I put it all together and then I just throw it at her. But I have Quicken, so I sit on my phone and categorize everything.
Quicken that's an app?
Yeah, Quicken is a thing. You just, it deducts from your bank and says you spent this here, you spent that there, and I go like, that's a deduction, that's not a deduction. This is meals and entertainment, this is travel, this is me just shopping on Amazon. And then I just sit on my app when I'm stuck in a parking lot, categorizing them, and at the end of the year it goes and tells you what's been spent where and how. I give that to somebody smarter than me.
You should be the spokesperson, because I'm going to download that right after this. But for those who do have an accountant, when did you know to hire one? When did you know you're like, oh man, I need to hire an accountant?
I'll go.
Okay.
I needed, first and foremost, I knew I needed to incorporate when I first got my big series, like my first role in a recurring in a TV show. And so Melissa was actually one of the first persons that actually reached out to me and was like, hey, you should look into incorporating yourself. And so I was very new to all of this, and so I didn't know what any of that was. As I did more research, I found out that incorporating yourself as an actor or an artist in general helps with taxes, so you don't have to pay that much of a percentage on your taxes. And so without getting into like big details of what all that entails, that is when I knew. If you want to talk strictly numbers, I think in 2016 or 17, if you were making roughly 50 or more a year, that's when it was usually advised to kind of incorporate. And when you incorporate, the big reason why you either need to keep your own bookkeeping, like Jillian does, or you hire an accountant, is because you are responsible for every paperwork you submit to the government. Regular people that work 9 to 5 that go, let's say, to H&R Block, if something is wrong on their taxes, H&R Block steps in and he's like, hey, this is our fault, or this is how we fix it. That doesn't happen with us. We are solely responsible for that, which means if there's any mistake on your income taxes, the government comes to us, which is a lot different. And that is the reason why you need to have strict bookkeeping, or why you need an accountant. And also, our taxes, we can't do our own taxes. It has to be, or if you're incorporated, let me say, if you're incorporated and you're an S Corp, you by law are not allowed to do your own taxes. a CPA has to do that. And a CPA is a certified personnel accountant, I think it is. Yeah. And so they are the only ones allowed by law to do your taxes.
Thank you. Thank you for that very detailed information as to incorporating. Can you give us, because I kind of have an idea of what incorporating means, but can you give us more, like a very brief description of that?
Sure. Essentially, you are your own business. You are your own entity. You are you are an independent contractor. You create what is called a loan out. So essentially, if you're doing it with Warner Brothers Television, LLC, and it's a show on CW, Warner Brothers is entering into a contract with whatever you want to name your company, Oscar Camacho Productions. That is what I'm naming my production company. And so they are entering in a contract with Oscar Camacho Productions, who is then in turn hiring the artist, Oscar Camacho. And so what that helps in the when tax season comes around is essentially if Warner Brothers pays me $20 for an episode. I'm just hypothetical, just so we all can understand really quickly. If they pay me $20, if they were to hire me just as an individual, when they pay me, taxes is already taken out. And taxes are pretty high in California. But if they hire you through a loan out, you get that full gross sum. You get all of the $20. And so eventually you get to claim a lot of your stuff off of it. Like Jillian had mentioned earlier, a lot of stuff is deductible. And so instead of getting taxed off the $20, you get taxed off of whatever's been reduced, or I forget the term for it. But it's essentially, you're not paying as much tax as you would as an individual.
Cool. I think that makes so much sense. When I heard LLC, I was like, yes. Oh, yes. I understand. So let's just talk really fast because we're America. We love to talk about money. So I just want to just really quickly, because I want to talk more about everyone's artistic life. So how do you get paid? Do you get paid via commission, or do you get paid flat rate? Do you get paid? I know everyone has a different way, or is it through a different contract stuff? So yeah, I just want to hear everyone's things.
As an agent, it's commission. We get 10%. You never pay an agent to take you on. That's, we get paid when you get paid. So it's off of the work of that the actor has gotten. But it's not like a lawyer where, not an entertainment attorney, but like a lawyer in the real world where you pay them a retainer. That doesn't happen. Something I want to add though, real quick, that I think you should keep in mind when you're looking for something as a survival gig as an actor, like what is it that you love to do? And maybe there's a way to monetize it. I mean, prior to being an agent and being a manager, I was out of Cal Arts and was an actor. And my downstairs neighbor dragged me to a belly dancing class, and I loved it. And it was a hobby, and it was phenomenal. And I made a lot of, I worked in restaurants for years. I went on auditions as a belly dancer. I'm not going to tell you where there's one that I got hired because my coworker keeps threatening to make a demo tape. Just saying. But, that was I didn't walk into that room because I thought, oh, this will be a good way to make money or something that stands out on my resume, but it turned out to be that. And so I think you want to keep that in mind too, especially in this, what Emmanuel was talking about a bit, and, actors being hyphenates. If there's something that you love that really interests you, you might find a way to build a project around it and find work, make work, And
I did see you belly dance and you're awesome.
Aw, we're having drinks later, Jillian. But you want to find those things. And I know for me, because my job is creative in how I sell people and how I approach it and the joy I get out of that. But I still, as a human being, have to find things to keep me happy. I'm, taking yoga or, studying meditation or, crazy, crunchy, hippie crystal stuff, like all of that, because you also don't know. I mean, life, we only go around once with this, like find things that stimulate you, that are interesting, and try to leave this planet a better place than it was when you got here, So. And as an artist, I really feel strongly that if you are doing something that you love and passionate about, I bet you can find a way to turn it into something that will feed you.
As an actor, just going back to Amy's question, you usually get paid through, like, if you book your job through your agent, or your manager, you get paid through the agency. And so the agency already takes out their commission and just sends the check to you. Occasionally, and it's happened to me before, for whatever reason, because there's a lot of paperwork involved with the productions, sometimes you'll get the check directly from the production company, and then it's incumbent upon you as an actor and really as a professional, as a general human being, to give the commission that is owed to your agent. Yeah.
For me, as an actor, what Oscar just said. As a director, I usually do a fee base, and I base it on a percentage of what the entire budget for the film is. As a producer, a lot of times you make back end, which is tricky because a lot of times you don't get a big amount of money up front. Or if I manage to produce and own the property that I'm producing or in or whatever, that's just a sales check just coming to me if I own the property. So.
As a writer, there's so many different ways that you get paid. If you have an agent, you'll get paid through there. But there's also, especially for writers, there's grants and fellowships, and a lot of that, if you get chosen or if you get selected, that money will come directly to you. If you don't have an agent, the theater will pay you, and then you'll be on a 1099 because you're not an employee of that theater, even though they're producing your work. So they'll pay you separately. So that's why it's so important to sort of understand that network, because of all the different ways that you can acquire income. As a writer, you really want to sort of keep your eye on everything.
There's a lot of information there.
So many good nuggets. Okay, so much good stuff. I really appreciated Jillian's metaphor about the fisherman, and just the main overall takeaway I felt from that clip was preparing for feast and preparing for famine. Feast and famine.
100%. I want to highlight, she talked about Quicken. It's just, if you go to quicken.com, Quicken is just software you can put on your phone or your computer. It will help you manage your spending and help you with your savings, help you itemize for tax time. I don't think it's very much money. So that's another resource besides Mint, that if you're like, whoa, where do I start? Maybe some software can help you. But yeah, I mean, just a ton of information about incorporating and about taxes, and having an accountant, having somebody who you trust to ask about money is a really, really great place to start if you're feeling overwhelmed.
Absolutely. And, I also really loved the section on survival jobs, finding something that you love to do and then turning it into making money. I know for me, I've been teaching yoga now for I don't know, like 7 or 8 years now. And I started yoga because I just really enjoyed it. It made me feel in touch with my body. And as theater people, that's important to us. But I did realize that it is a really nice supplemental income, because it allows flexible schedule. I could teach my own classes. I could go work for a studio. When I first moved to LA, that was the first jobs that I got were yoga teaching jobs. And also too, working across industries in LA. I've started doing like PA jobs here and there. I really like art department stuff because I am a theater person. I like painting sets. I like making props. And you can make a decent day rate doing that out here too. So yeah, I really love that section.
I do too. I think it's so important to have a survival job that you enjoy. So if waiting tables is not your thing, if that is not an environment that you thrive in, just know there's lots of other options. And I similarly, when I first came out to LA, started teaching to, I taught kids theater and stuff like that to start helping make ends meet. And I realized I loved it so much that now it's a huge part of what I do. And I really am now a hyphenate, and I spend as much time educating as I do making art. And for me, that is excellent. Each side feeds the other, and it's helped me really create kind of a sustainable loop of, like Melissa said, also, hopefully making the world a little better than I found it, but also feeding myself as an artist, feeding my bank account. All of those things are important.
Yeah.
I do also want to say, though, maybe this is controversial. I think as an artist, it's also okay to have some things you enjoy that you don't monetize.
Yeah.
Just
100%.
for mental health.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of self-care and self-preservation. You don't want to turn all of your hobbies into a job, because then you don't have any hobbies left.
Yeah, that's like, I love to
you're
cook.
at work or not.
Right. I love to cook. I don't want to open a restaurant. I don't even want to do a blog. I
Yeah.
just want that to be for me. So I think I love that advice, and also have something that's just for you too.
Yes.
All right. Well, figuring out ways to survive, even when the work isn't coming in, is important. Just like we said, it's the fish. And especially right now, there's a lot that's up in air for theater practitioners, and we really need to know how to manage our money so we can be ready to get back to work as soon as we can safely reopen.
As soon as possible.
Hopefully. I know. All right, we have one more clip.
All right, yeah, we have one more clip to show in this video, but we do have a lot more information to share.
That's right, because actually, separate than this video, we have another video called Paying the Bills, Personal Finance for Theater Artists.
Yes, and that section, Paying the Bills, it's a full-length session from the summer 2020 Working in Theater series. And it has so much valuable information for independent artists that we decided to just include the entire video. So if you finish this conversation and you want more, and trust me, there is so much more to share, please head on over to Paying the Bills next.
Yes, but before you do, we're going to watch one very short clip from our Classroom Connection series. This is actor Sabina Zuniga Varela. She's amazing. She's also an artist, educator, actor, director, theater maker. She's going to give us a quick hot tip about saving for retirement.
If you could go back in, let's say, 10 years, beginning of your career, what is a piece of advice that you would give yourself? Or just any like aspiring young artist that is beginning their career? What's some advice that you would give them?
I would definitely say, if you're doing regional theater and you're able to go to a theater and get an equity contract, ask for that slip of paper where you can throw a little extra percentage into your 401k from the beginning. Put aside as much money as you can, as you reasonably can. We don't really get paid too much, so it's kind of hard living job to job. But one of the things I don't think I did early enough was save a little percentage off to the side. Because a lot of times we get stuck with 1099 work, stuff that isn't quite taxed, and then you end up come tax season and you have to pay all these taxes on these little gig by gig jobs. So I think some of my biggest advice is the financial aspect of it, because our world is so uncertain. You don't know when your next job is coming, that as much as you can, put little savings away. And also just find those other wonderful things you can do as your side hustles. I did a lot of nannying around LA and got to raise some beautiful babies for a couple years, and it helped just put a little extra cash in my pocket for transportation. So just finding all those other little creative ways that you can support yourself so you're not constantly struggling and stressed out.
Awesome, thank you.
As a beginning actor in LA as well. It was actually wonderful. All these kids are grown up now.
Yeah, I know.
Thank you for that. Thank you for acknowledging the financial literacy part of acting. And it is such a thing to navigate as a young artist, Sabina. Thank you.
Well, and real quick, just to plug it, and we could also put it in the chat, the actorsfund.org is one of the best resources in the city, as well as New York, Chicago. They have financial wellness classes, they have career development classes, and it's all free. They also help you do your taxes. It's an incredible organization. It's a great resource.
Thank you. And everyone who is watching us from home, that is in our chat function. So please do visit that. And also all of our participants today, please feel free to check that out.
The Actors Fund. Yes, please do check that out. My independent artists, they have so many wonderful resources that are free for artists. So please, 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 if you're writing down resources, check out the Actors Fund. Let's talk about retirement.
I don't know a lot about retirement, Christine, so I will let you take the charge. I will say everything that I know about retirement, I learned from one of my favorite podcasts. It's called Her Money by Jean Chatzky, who I grew up watching on the Today Show with my mom, and her podcast is so good. She covers everything, so definitely check that one out as well. Christine, what do you know about retirement stuff? You're responsible.
Well, I'm going to check out that podcast. But yeah, I want to talk about this because so Sabina's an actor and I'm an actor as well in one of my hyphenate lives. And she talks about asking for a slip of paper. What does that mean? So let's say you are an actor and you book a job on an equity contract. Woohoo! That's a great thing that you already accomplished. Fantastic. You're going to fill out a lot of paperwork with your stage manager and your equity representative your first day of the job. And you can ask for a little bit extra to be taken out of your paycheck and put into your 401k. Now let's start with what is a 401k? Just briefly, it's a retirement savings plan. And it helps you save and invest for your retirement. That's really all it is. On some contracts, not only can you take out some money from your paycheck and it'll automatically go into your 401k account that equity has set up for you. On some larger contracts, for instance, a LORT contract, which is what CTG is. It's called League of Resident Theaters. They also, your employer will contribute a little bit of extra money, also go into your 401k. Woohoo! So if you're working on a larger job, like at Center Theater Group, they will also pay a small percent of your income into your 401k. But even if you're not working on Broadway or on a LORT contract, if you're doing off-Broadway or mid-sized theater or theater for young audiences contracts, a lot of smaller contracts, the employer won't match your money, but you can still ask and you can just talk to your equity representative or your stage manager about getting the slip. You can request that a little bit extra of your paycheck goes into that. So that, you know, well on down the line, when you go to your 401k and you want a little bit of retirement money, it'll be there. So you can start saving as soon as you start working, even on a smaller equity contract. It doesn't have to be a giant contract.
Yeah.
And so that's that. Yeah.
And for those of you watching who are like me, who are self-employed, I know there is an option. It's an SEP IRA, SEP IRA, because I don't really get paychecks that I don't cut myself. I mean, I have clients and I do work other places as well. But for those who are entrepreneurial in spirit, there are still lots of options for you to formally save for retirement, or even just pre-tax savings, right? Like anytime you get the opportunity to put money aside and have it not be taxed, you definitely want to take advantage of that. But again, you know, I'm not an expert. And so we definitely encourage you all to continue to do your own research. Hopefully these videos and our conversation have given you some things that you can maybe do your Googles later and get to. But we definitely want to, we hope that we have been able to support you as you navigate your own money management journey.
That's right. And it is a journey. Just remember that if this all keeps, you know, feeling scary, one thing at a time. Maybe download some software, listen to a podcast, check out Actors Fund, take a few classes. The little steps that you take will start to make you feel more empowered. And just also remember that the more you talk about money and the more you normalize it, the more comfortable it will become. So as we mentioned before, in addition to the tax section and the organizational finance section that we mentioned, you can also click through our resources section and you'll find extra tools and materials and links that may be of use to you. So please do visit that when you're done here.
Wonderful. We hope we've been able to help a little bit, and thank you so much for watching.